Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. Welcome to r/AmITheButthole. Now, I know this sub is among the all-time favourites, so I won't waste another second and get straight into this first one by user/SpriteSpirit7. Since everyone's home now and confined indoors, my family of 7 has been trying to find their own space. The kids, 13, 11, 7, 7 and 5, have bedrooms to play in. The 2 oldest have their own rooms. The 3 youngest share a room. They also have 2 playrooms, one in the basement full of big games, air hockey, computers and etc. And the smaller room upstairs is usually used for crafting, reading and dress up. My husband has his man cave. It's in the basement as well, but no one is allowed in. I'm only allowed in to clean. Yay! Everyone's been happy with this arrangement for years, until now. 6 weeks ago, my father asked if we could take his old camper. It's an iPod, but I don't know the number. He used it maybe 10 times. He didn't want to sell it because it was in a small accident. It fell into a swamp. It was extremely dirty and smelled horrible. I also love the use of small accident and then fell into a swamp within the same 2 sentences. I don't see that as a small accident. As my little side activity, I've been fixing it up. Alone. My husband and kids thought it was dirty and smelly. But after a month of trial and error, it's pretty and usable. I painted it, added decorations, made it my own little area. It even has heat, water and electricity. Yesterday, I saw my kids playing in it. I told them it was Mummy's area, and they called me mean. Later that same day, my husband told me I was rude and selfish, and that I should share with the children. He said that when he's in his man cave, he can hear the kids playing games and it's distracting. I said, no, I have no place of my own. He told me that I have the whole house to myself. Not true, since I share it. Today, my husband told my kids, the 4 youngest, to write me letters on why they should have my area. And they, even the little ones, started crying. I was so upset with my husband and my kids, but I also feel so guilty. Now, my kids do have their own area outside. We have a pool, they have a swing set with a playhouse as well that they never use. My husband and kids are revolting against me. No one will talk to me. Everyone, including my husband, calls me mean mummy. The 13-year-old actually doesn't really care. The 11-year-old goes back and forth about caring. Should I just give the kids the camper, or am I the butthole for not giving it to them? Well, I personally think that you do have the right to your own space, and that your husband is being very selfish, and he's actually the one being mean, turning your kids against you. I think maybe, just maybe, you should give them exactly what they're asking for. A mean mummy. Don't cook for them, don't clean for them, don't do anything for them, and see how they react. That would be a nice little bit of revenge. And here's our next post by user/clearchest. My son will be starting college this fall. He'll be attending a school out of state while his girlfriend stays home to attend college. Because of a distance, they've been discussing whether or not they'll try to make things work, and they have struggled to make a decision. He asked his mum and me what he thought we should do. And for a long time, I refused to advise him, other than make some very high-level comments and generalizations. His mother, my wife on the other hand, has encouraged him to stay with his girlfriend, even though I asked her to remain impartial. My son continued to ask me for my opinion, and because his mum weighed in, I felt like he needed to hear my perspective. This is because my wife has used us as an example to show him that high school sweethearts can last. She's not wrong, but she's only ever given one side of our story to our son. And I felt he needed to know my perspective, which I haven't shared with our kids until now. To make a long story short, we were high school sweethearts, but in many ways, I regret choosing to make a commitment to my wife when we were so young. We had a similar issue. I applied to graduate schools and ended up getting offers from schools in New York and Los Angeles, which I really liked. I would have probably attended one, but my wife didn't want to move to either place, which forced me to choose. I've always wondered how my life would have gone had I chosen a different path. I told my son all this and advised him to think about if he wanted that hanging over him while he's away at school. To be tied down like this during the best years of his life is going to give him a very different college experience, and probably limit him in many ways. I didn't tell him he should break up, but I did strongly urge him to consider if he's prepared to make that sacrifice and end up like me, wondering what he missed out on. Apparently, my daughter overheard this conversation and relayed it to my wife. My wife has taken this very hard, and so have my daughters, but I don't think what I said was wrong. I don't think I'm wrong for wanting our son to avoid the same. He has many plans which are not compatible with what his girlfriend wants. She's a local girl, like my wife, and probably will never want to leave our town or explore the world. So, either he's going to end up fighting her over this and feeling bad because he wants to experience life, or things will ultimately not work out. If the latter is the case, it's better to end it now, so that at least he can enjoy college. Am I the butthole? Now I find this one interesting because Reddit has voted OP the butthole, and I can see why. You know, it's not good telling your kids why you may not like your spouse. It's just something they don't need to deal with. But on the other hand, what was OP to do? Was he to lie to his kid about the possible issues he might face? I personally want to vote no buttholes here, but say that the dad could have acted better if OP had made a more generalized case and made sure his son considered the options. If he had helped his son weigh up the missed opportunities of both options in a more abstract manner, I think that would have been better. But what's done is done. I hope, OP, you have not damaged your relationship with your wife. I guess you just gotta be careful about these things. And here's our next post by user/accountforthrow223. I was given up for adoption when I was a baby by my parents who were 19 years old. Due to reasons, I was taken from my adoptive parents and put in foster care when I was 11 and remained in the system until I went to college. When I turned 18, I was given my mother's contact information by someone. I found out she was married to my biological father. They had profiles on Facebook and Instagram. I ended up messaging my mother, who never responded. I then tried to message my father, who basically replied, saying that he's sorry, but they would rather not have me in their lives. But it took them a while to grieve over giving me up, and they don't want to go through all that pain again. Well, at this point, I got pretty angry, because I think it's kind of bad they think they can prevent me from knowing the rest of my family. I ended up messaging my grandmother, my mother's mum, who was actually happy to know me. I met her in person, and we really bonded. I also have 2 younger siblings, but I didn't contact them after what my father said. Well, 4 months ago, I saw my father post a picture of them at some church event and say, "My beautiful wife and our 2 amazing kids." This was on their church Facebook page. This was probably wrong, but I replied with a comment saying, "Don't you mean 3 kids?" I really didn't expect the amount of people responding to that as I did. There were a bunch of people my parents knew that started asking questions. I freaked out and deleted my comment. Then I started getting DMs from people, including people I was related to. Later that day, my grandmother made a post confirming I was a child given up for adoption. So now I've started making connections with some extended family and have been to a few family parties. My parents have been told they aren't invited unless they accept me, which they haven't. The whole drama has kind of messed up their lives and business. My parents are now apparently separated. I don't really accept that as my fault. Am I the butthole for doing what I did? I'm honestly kinda not even sure what to say about this one. Having read through the comments, I'm going to go with you're the butthole OP. Only for the reason that you reached out to your parents in private and they replied to you saying they don't want a relationship with you, and as much as that sucks, going on and talking about it on a public platform is definitely a butthole-y sort of thing to do. Would I consider making my judgment ESH everyone sucks here? This is just such a complicated issue that I don't really know what to say. And here's our next post by user/WFHStress2020. My girlfriend always dressed comfortably and practically until recently. She works at a professional job and she would usually wear jeans, sneakers, t-shirts or sweaters. About a month ago, she had her friend shave both sides of her head, but leave her hair on the top and back of her head. I wasn't a huge fan of it, but she said she wanted it for a while. But she was too afraid of being embarrassed if it turned out badly. But now that everyone is working from home, nobody can go out. She took the chance and she loves it. Then she bleached her brown hair to blonde. Then in a week, she dyed it fluorescent green. And she was buying a lot of new clothes. Crop tops and tank tops, really loud patterned pants, platform sneakers that look like running shoes but have a sole that's like 3 inches tall. Just generally flashy and eccentric stuff. And whenever I ask, she says that this is more her style, but she's just been more comfortable getting into it when there's less social pressure. She stopped wearing bras, and that's also awkward because I can tell she gets stares. I asked what she's going to do when she has to go back to work, and she said she'd dress appropriately, but obviously couldn't change her hair. But she didn't think that would be a problem. She's been practically indispensable during the difficult time the company was having recently, and she couldn't see there being any trouble over hair. I've said I also don't love her look, and she's always like, I don't look that different, like, it's still me. But honestly, she does look really different. We had a fight after I asked her a couple of times to just wear normal things when we hang out together. And she got really upset with me over it, saying that she was just trying to have some fun and try something different. And it was really rude of me to tell her how to dress. Am I the butthole for being annoyed with my girlfriend's change in style? Alright, now let me get this one clear. OP, you're not the butthole for being annoyed with your girlfriend's change in style. That's perfectly fine. She likes something, you don't, get over it. But the way you told her to just dress normal, and I quote here, that was definitely a hurtful thing to say, and I would say you're the butthole for that. And here's our next post by user/crickets90. My sister bought her daughter a Barbie Jeep 5 years ago. The kind kids can get in and drive. Her daughter played with it, got bored, and then my sister took it to my parents' house, where it sat in their basement for the past 5 years. That's where all junk goes to die. It went untouched, unthought about, unused, and unloved for half a decade. So in comes me. My daughter's 3 and asked for a Barbie Jeep. Perfect. I call my mum, asked if the Jeep that's manifested in her basement was still working. She said, probably not, but please take it. So I did. I went and got the old thing out and brought it to come live in my basement. It works, but it's still old and junky. My sister catches wind that the Jeep is now in my possession and loses her ish. She demands I pay her $200 for it. I tell her I'm not going to do that because 1, I can get a new one for $150 at Walmart. 2, the Jeep has lived in a basement for half a decade. 3, her daughter is way too big for it now. And 4, she lives in a tiny apartment, so it's not like she wants it back at her house. She says, you know we're hurting for money, so pay me. Which is confusing because 5 years. It's sat for 5 years. If that Jeep was her money pot, wouldn't she have an ad out for it? It's just very convenient that she suddenly needs to sell it. Should I have asked to take it? I guess. I mean, when something is piled in a basement under boxes and old furniture for so long, I assumed it was fair game. And since we're family and all, we share hand-me-downs all the time between kids. Anyway, am I the butthole for not giving her $200 for it? I told her if she needs money and was planning on selling the Jeep, she can come get it. Oh my god, I love it, because too often I have to suggest a solution myself, but here OP does it herself. If her sister needs that Jeep so much, come and get it and sell it and see how much money she can get for it. It's definitely nowhere near $200. Also, this post just reeks of r/entitled parents, so OP, if you want to, when the story's fully resolved, just go across and post the same story in r/entitled parents for a bit of extra karma. And then if someone gives you an award and you're rude to them, you can post in r/choosing beggars instead. That would be the perfect Reddit karma farm combination. And here's our next post by user/grandparent question. When my oldest told me she was pregnant, she was still in college, unemployed, and the baby's father was refusing to be involved. I wasn't thrilled, but I provided all the help I could and took care of her. I was having a health crisis at the time, so I was very stressed out. I love my grandchild, but the birth didn't exactly happen in the happiest of circumstances. My oldest daughter ended up back in a relationship with the baby's father, and they're happy and stable now. My youngest daughter announced her pregnancy a few months ago, and the situation cannot be more different. She's married to her husband, who she's been with for several years, they're both financially stable, and the baby is clearly planned. I have zero stress dealing with my daughter's pregnancy this time, and I've been generally happier about it. I was unknowingly proven I was more excited this time, around which I have since corrected. I also planned a baby shower for my youngest, which I didn't do for my oldest. My oldest is furious. I can imagine why, but I feel she should understand how different the circumstances were. She said some really hurtful things to me and has prevented me from seeing my grandchild, even on the phone. I've already apologized a few times, but it hasn't made a difference. My youngest is now having some pregnancy-related health issues, and we're feeling very scared. I got a text from my oldest yesterday saying that if it were her having a health scare during her pregnancy, I probably would have celebrated. I broke down crying because I was so hurt. Am I wrong here? Oh my god, OP, definitely not the butthole. These are two completely different situations. I'm sure you offered as much help as you could give to both your daughters equally. It's just a matter of, at this point in time, you could give more help and you could be more happy about it. You're not intentionally discriminating against the two, and it's just a matter of circumstance, so not the butthole. But I think this post will be the last one for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to the channel for Reddit videos 3 times every single week. But with that said, that is it from me. I hope you all enjoyed, and all I want to do is see you all here next time. See you later, guys.